Hey, it's Sam on What Yacht To Do, and we are in Canada. Love this little moose thing that we got in Montreal. So, in Canada, let's talk about power, because shore power to them and power is called hydro. And why is it called hydro? Because a lot of their power in Canada is made through hydroelectric sources, okay, which are dams and those types of things where they get electricity generated. So hydro in Canada is a little bit different than in the United States. Now on this particular trip, we have seen a lot more 50 amp receptacles. Let's talk about the here's to us, and then you can apply it to your boat however your boat is set up. But for the here's to us, we have a single 50 amp receptacle, and that is on a Glendinning reel. Glendinning is the manufacturer, and it automatically goes out. There's a little push button that takes it out and in. It is 60 feet in length. Now that will help us just about every place. In addition to that, I have a 50-foot extension cord for the 50 amp service. So under most circumstances, like we are here today, we are plugged into a 50 amp service. And that 50 amp will go to two legs on the boat. Okay, when I say two legs, basically two separate circuits on the boat, group 1 and group 2. And so when we plug that in, and on your pedestals you'll find two types of pedestals, the types of pedestals that will have an on and off switch, and sometimes they're labeled and sometimes they aren't. You got to get your glasses on and get up real close to see if they're on or off. But the optimal way to do it is to ensure that that power is off. Plug in your receptacle, twist it, it's locked in, and then turn on the breaker, and then go down to wherever your panel is and put on the shore power 1 for us and shore power 2. From there you can go ahead and turn on your appliances. Usually the first thing we turn on is the water pump for the air conditioning system and the salon and the master bedroom air conditioners, and get those going and cool it down. And from there, whatever you need. Now, sometimes in Canada, and a lot of times in Canada, I will say that you need a splitter. For example, if you have a 50 amp, single 50 amp, and there's none there, well, now you have 30 amps. Well, what are you going to do? And so what we have is a splitter. So this end is the 50 amp end. That will plug into our shore power cord. Okay, that's on the end of the Glendinning. The other two ends are 30 amp. And so you will plug these into two 30 amp receptacles. Okay, and you can kind of see they're a little bit different. On the 50 amp you have two that have these kind of L-shaped prongs. On the 30 amp you have just one L-shaped prong. So you can immediately tell that these are 30 amps. And from there you will have 60 amps going through here potentially, but it's going to reduce it down to 50. Your boat's only going to take 50 amps. Okay, so that's how you can do that. Now in other cases there is only one 30 amp on that pedestal. So what are you going to do? Well, you can't just plug one of these in. It's not going to work that way. It may, but I'm not exactly sure if it would work, and I don't think you can do it. Okay, it depends. And these wiring at the marinas, they're getting more and more strict with them. So that may work on your boat. I don't know, but I don't recommend that you try to do that. I saw somebody try to do it and go like, hey, it doesn't work. And I said, yeah, it shouldn't work. If it does work, there may be something wrong. Okay, so two 30s into a 50, you can do that. The next thing we have is, hey, if there's only one 30 amp out there, we can take and plug this. I call it the little dog bone here because that's kind of what it looks like, dog bone. Is we'll plug this into the pedestal, the 30 amp, and connect it to our 50 amp cord, the Glendinning cord that's hooked to the boat. Now, I'm only going to get, 30 amps in there. So it is going to feed on our boat. It does feed to both legs, which is nice. But now I'm going to have to monitor my power. On our boat, we have found out that we can run 2 air conditioners and not blow a fuse on it. So we can run the salon air conditioner and we can run the master bedroom air conditioner, which is our normal configuration. We have 3 other air conditioners, and I wouldn't even attempt to put a 3rd air conditioner or a 4th or a 5th air conditioner on it. You're just going to have to monitor your power. If, for example, we wanted to come up here in this area, we would cut the 2 air conditioners off downstairs and then put 1 or 2 on up here. The next thing is I tell Rev, hey, we're limited to 30 amps, and hey, if you want to use the range, let me know. What I'm going to do as a safeguard is I'm going to cut one of those air conditioners off under this particular configuration, just 30 amps. So you're going to have to, really manage your power in this case. But, I'm happy that, hey, we can use a single 30. So our preference is the single 50, the dual 30s with the splitter, and then if we have to, we can use this, and we have done that, and it's worked just fine. The next thing is, okay, and I have not used this yet. Okay, so now, look at this. This looks like a regular, wall socket 15 amps. Okay, so the idea is hey, if you can only find 15 amps out there and run an extension cord, and hey, you wanted to make sure your batteries are charged because 15 amps isn't going to give you much, you can go ahead and take this, plug this into the Here's to Us, the 50 amp Glendinning, and then I'm going to take this 30 amp, I'm going to plug this into here, and you've got to kind of stand on your head to see which way this is going to go, and I'll go ahead and put it on here. Okay, we're going to take that, twist it, and then we're going to put this into 15 amp and see what it gives you. Okay, I've never done it before, and so if I had to do that, it would be an emergency situation. Hey, we just need to keep the batteries charged or whatever it is. So those are some of the things that you'll be looking for when you go to Canada, is be ready for it. The other thing that I will tell you is that when you go in our second preferred, if we have to go down to 230 amps, well, you're not going to see probably 2 pedestals real close together. I mean, there's not that much room. Maybe this is 6 feet apart. So if you have to go to 2 different pedestals, you may need extension cords, 30 amp extension cords, which is something I've seen people do as well. So it can get a little complex and a little confusing, but there's nothing worse than getting to a marina and knowing you don't have the right equipment to hook up. So you want to be flexible, and so that's why I'm doing this video here. Is I have seen people who have gotten to a marina in Canada and they go, oh, I don't have a splitter. And guess what? They're going to pay through the nose at a marina or a ship store there, and they'll charge you almost double. When I bought this thing, I think I spent about $250 for it, and I've seen people spend at the last minute. They need, to keep everybody cool. They're paying $500 for it. Okay, so it is what it is. Prepare ahead. There's plenty of places that you can look and get those, but make sure you're getting the right one for your boat. Okay, and so if you don't understand that, get a marine electrician out there and find the right connectors so that when you go to Canada, you will have a pleasant stay and be adaptable. So here we are in Canada, and what do we see? This particular pedestal at this slip, Northeast 2, one 50 amp plug or 2 30 amp plugs. And let's come over to this side here, and we can see, there's our 50 amp. And in French, 150 amp or 30 amps. Okay, power supply. Now on this particular one, there is no place here, and I asked the dock attendant, where you could turn off the power at the pedestal. It's hot. Okay, so you definitely want to make sure that when you're hooking that up, that your power switches on the boat are off, because it's hot already. Some places will have a little breaker here to be able to turn it on and off, and you want to make sure it's off. And then plug it in, make sure yours are off, give it power, go down and turn yours on. Now the ones here, like I told you before, this is our two 30 amps. Okay, so this is going to take a little bit of doing here. But we would go ahead and open these up, and like I said, you got to kind of stand on your head and figure out which is which, and stick that baby in there, turn it. The same thing with this one. We would stick it in here, find the right slot, turn it on, and from there, look at that. I have a red light that is an indicator that I have power going to there. Okay? And in reality, the first thing I do is I would hook that up to my 50 amp, male to female, and then I would put it in. Okay, don't do it like I just did, don't plug it in, but I'm just illustrating to you how this works. So now I would have power going to the boat. All right, so we have the boat receptacle here, the plug. It is the male end and the splitter end here, and you'll notice that inside it says 50 amp / 125 / 250 volt on both of them. Notice that on the 50 amp you have two legs that have a L in them, and also in here, so that's how you can spot 50 amp. So the way you get this lined up, it's kind of a trick, is this straight one here and this straight one here. I got to line those up. We put them in here, and just like that, give it a twist. Next is we are going to take this and plug it in, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to investigate this particular power pedestal and see where everything is. First is lift this up, and there's always going to be spiders in there, okay? And so here it is, 30 amp, 125 volt. Is it off or on? I don't know. We're going to have to get down there and look, okay? On is usually up and off. So it's off, and then here is one of them.
Ooh.
Ooh, that's nothing there.
That's gross.
Okay, and then here is the other one. What does that say right there?
There is a spider on there. I don't know. Okay.
It's off. Okay,
so they're on
right,
opposite sides.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, they're on opposite sides. All right, the next thing we're going to do is plug them in, and the same thing here. On the 30 amp splitter, you've got two straight ones and one with a leg. So we're going to plug that in. Get it lined up. Give it a twist. Okay, and I don't have a red light yet because we don't have it set. Oh, we should have a red light here. Put this one in. I'm going to turn it on here. And on there. And so we did guess correctly. We do have a red light down here until both of them are on. So the next thing is to go onto the boat and put both of the power shore on. Alright, so we're now in the salon at the AC panel. I've got shore power 1 and shore power 2. Right now they're set for shore power. I'm just double checking. Group 1 and group 2 is what we're going to power. We're going to see the line voltage here and the line voltage here, and when I flip the switches. Okay, so let's go. Shore power 1, there it is, and shore power 2. All right, yes. From there we have power. We're reading 110 volts, and now we're going to say, all right, I know we're going to use air conditioning, so I'm turning on the water pump, I'm turning on the salon air conditioner and the aft air conditioner. We don't use the forward one. On group 2, if we wanted the upstairs air conditioner, I'd put a different pump on here and 2 there. Later we'll probably use the range, but for right now I'm going to heat us hot water, and you saw right there, oh, we started to take on some amps. That hot water heater started to heat. Okay, so I'll do it again for you in case you didn't see it. It's off, it's on, we know we're drawing amperage there. So everything is working, and we are ready for a great weekend. Now, one other thing I'm going to tell you about is these marinas keep going on different standards, and it was really because people were drowning at marinas and there was leakage going into the water, and so they became very persnickety about how the power was coming out of the receptacle. And like I said, I'm not an electrician nor an electrical engineer. All I know is they were very tricky. And at one time, this boat would trip the circuit breakers, and we scratched our head and we scratched our head and we took panels off and we checked a lot of things on the boat. We couldn't find any leakage, but you know what we did find? Thanks to Carl and the gang, I got the boat to St. Louis, and at Polestar Marina, Uncharted Services, when we took it in there for service one time, I said, you know what, I want you to look at the power plug, the plug on that cord, and tell me, and I want you to replace it. And they did replace it. I kept the old one, and I'm telling you, it was so corroded, and that's why we were tripping power. So if you are tripping power, start here first. This is about a $150 deal to be able to change that out, and we haven't had any problems with it. So start from there. If that's good, then you find where you have the leak on the boat, and that may require a marine electrician to assess that for you. Well, I hope you learned a little bit about power and the different cords and how you have to be adaptable in Canada and being able to get power on your boat, because there is nothing more frustrating than pulling into a marina and you don't have the right cord, or it doesn't work, or whatever it is. So, hope this helps.